Welcome to the Women Unleashed podcast. I am your host, Britt Philanis, and today we have a really beautiful special guest, Karen Lindsay. Now, we just had this conversation about how to introduce you, Karen, because you are so many things, I'm sure, to so many people. But I'm just going to go with you are a mother and you have created amazing organizations that give back to people like yourself, mothers or not, but that are in difficult situations, like being the director of Broken to Brilliant, which we will, explore today, and starting Financial Superwomen. These initiatives just sound so, I want to say juicy, because they are for women, they just give so much life and vitality into spaces that they may not be that way for them. So today I'm really pleased and honored to have you on the podcast, and we're going to hear a lot about you. So let's start by going through why did you what is it about you that why do you have this drive to do the kind of work that you're doing? Where did that come from?
Thank you, Britt. Thanks for having me on. I'm pretty excited to be here. I've listened to a number of your podcasts with you and Taylor, so it's pretty cool to actually be on the other side for a change. Um,
Yay.
but I guess to answer your question, a little while ago, I did a talk at a networking group that I'm part of, and I actually dove back into my history or my past to realize that it's in my nature, I think, to volunteer and help. I watched my grandfather do it. I was a kid on school holidays going around doing Meals on Wheels with him at the age of, 6 or 7 or 8. I used to go with him to do his blood donation. I tipped over my 50th blood donation the other day. So like that,
Yes.
I think it's just part of my makeup. So then rolling forward to where I am now and the drive that I have for Financial Superwoman and the charity Broken to Brilliant actually comes back to a education program that I tapped into a good number of years ago called Landmark Education, and I was doing a course with Landmark called Self-Expression and Leadership Program. And in that program, your task over that 6-month period was to create a community project. Now, I don't know how many people have heard of Landmark, but I love to share that the Are You OK Day did actually stem from that program.
Yes, it did.
And so Financial Superwoman, I came up with the idea. It was just after Hannah Clark had lost her life. So it was pretty dramatic in the news, covered everywhere. And my thoughts were, as someone in the world of money and finances, I'm an accountant, maybe if someone like Hannah had had some help on the financial side, she may not have ended up in the position that she was in. Now, I since have learnt Hannah's story, and that's not the case. But there are so many women who leave a domestic violence situation and end up returning because they had no knowledge or they had no finances. So the finances is such an important part of when a domestic violence survivor moves away from their perpetrator. The statistic is, on average, 7 times is what they will return to the perpetrator. So that's average. So some could return 10 or 12 times, others might only 3 or 4. But that's the statistic here in Australia is 7 times. And so that's my burning desire, is to squash that number right down and not have them to return.
Wow. That would be bloody fantastic, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Yeah.
It's a long way to go, but that's what we're working on.
Yeah. I'm just present too. By doing that, if they've got kids, the amount of trauma that just also does not go on and get passed on to or added to those kids of those relationships by doing that work.
That's
doing
right.
the work that you're doing is just
Yep.
incredible. It gives me tingles. It's so good. Oh, amazing. And I love how you said, you were modeled from a very young age giving and
Mm, mm,
volunteering. And so for you, it comes very naturally to do that because you were modeled it as a kid, and it just like, and your grandfather got it from his father or whatever.
yeah.
And let's not step over that. Like, if you are someone who notices that maybe you don't volunteer, but you want to be someone who does volunteer, it takes intentional awareness and effort to go, well, I'm going to create a habit of volunteering, like, for myself.
Mm,
It, you
mm.
know, because I don't think, like, you're not born a volunteer, like, coming out of the womb. You know, there's no label, nothing like that. It's all about how you're modeled, I believe, anyway. So, yeah, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So I understand that you started Broken to Brilliant, the charity, prior to Financial Superwomen.
No, let
No?
me correct you there.
Okay,
So
cool.
that's all right. So Broken to Brilliant is a charity, and the
Mm-hmm.
Broken to Brilliant charity was created by two amazing individuals, Kate Smith
Mm-hmm.
and Andrea Miller. So,
Righto. Yep.
yeah, so Kate is the founding director, and Andrea kind of came along with her and supported her. So they were the two directors who first started Broken to Brilliant, and they
Okay.
started Broken to Brilliant. It's 9 years ago, in
Yep.
May
That's where I got
this
the
year.
timings from.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
so I started Financial Superwoman on my own, and our first
Mm-hmm.
workshop was October 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And through just networking, having conversations, somebody that I spoke to said, "You need to meet Kate." And so I reached out to Kate over LinkedIn. We had a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, and she went, "What you're doing is so what we would love to do. How can we do this together?" And
Right.
from the beginning with Financial Superwoman, I always said, I'm not going to start a charity. Like, I have seen too many charities take off and then crash and burn, and I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
do that. So, if I had the ability to jump on board with an existing charity and enhance what they were offering, that would be the winning formula. And that's
Oh,
exactly what we did.
great.
So, the first workshop in 2020 was all on our own. And then following from that, all of the workshops after that, we've been under the umbrella of Broken to Brilliant, which
Mm-hmm.
means we've been able to apply for funding because little old Karen can't apply for funding for her workshops, but Broken to Brilliant as a
Mm.
charity can apply for funding. So that's what's
That's
allowed us to keep the workshops rolling.
Oh, that's awesome. And what, so this is such a great question I'm going to ask you, because it is what Financial Superwomen is, right? So can you explain to me what type of organization Financial Superwomen is, that it can, be associated with a charity, that but not actually have the ability to apply for funding on its own?
Sure. Essentially, Financial Superwoman is a group of volunteers.
Okay.
So we're nothing official, we're not registered in any way. We
Mm-hmm.
are a group of volunteers and we run a workshop, or we run
Okay.
several workshops.
Yep.
But
Yep.
we fall, as I said, we fall under the banner. So when we hire venues, then
Mm-hmm.
our insurance is covered by Broken to Brilliant. And when we
Okay.
apply for
Mm-hmm.
funding, we do that under the ABN charity of Broken to Brilliant. That, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. I get that. And so you still have like a register. You've got your website
Mm,
domain,
hmm.
your Financial Superwomen. Like, to anyone from the outside, it looks like, I don't know, my business brain just assumes you're an organization. But that's really cool to hear how you have set that up and aligned yourself. And I'm guessing it makes things a lot simpler too, like from a
Mm,
reporting
hmm.
perspective. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, very smart woman. So good.
Saying that though, now that I'm a director of Broken to Brilliant, there's six of us as directors, and
Mm,
again, that's a completely voluntarily role, and we can spend 10, 12, 15 hours a week over and above our full-time jobs doing what we need to do for Broken to Brilliant, and in my
mm-hmm.
case, Financial Superwoman as well. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's busy.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's a very
Mm,
full
mm.
schedule. Okay, so let's dive into Financial Superwomen. You gave us the background as to why you started it, but if I was, and our audience that you're talking to, right? I think we've got both sides. We've got really educated, well-educated professionals listening to this, who would want to reach out to you probably and assist in those
Mm-hmm.
workshops,
Awesome.
as well as people that are in those situations that they would attend those workshops. So if you can speak to both about like from scratch, what is Financial Superwomen, and just go from there.
Yeah, sure. So we run workshops face to face in both Brisbane and Melbourne. And then we run online workshops once a month to cater to the rest of Australia, or even the women that are in those two locations that, for whatever reason, are unable to actually attend face-to-face workshops. Ideally,
Brilliant.
you get a lot more out of it if you can get to a face-to-face one, but if not, then online's definitely going to work. So, in a nutshell, we have between probably anywhere from 10 to 18 experts that are in that room during that face-to-face workshop. Now, the face-to-face workshops run for about 5 hours, so they
Wow.
get
Yeah.
free advice from all of these experts.
Amazing. And
Um,
can you share a bit about like what is it like when you turn up at a Brisbane one? What does the venue feel like? Because I think for women that's a really important their experience when they go there.
Correct.
What does that
Yeah.
feel like?
And remembering that our audience, our participants have normally had some serious trauma in their life. So a level of anxiety, depression, all of those things need to be considered as well. So our process is they register on our website, and that triggers a phone call. And most of the time that phone call's from me. And that phone call lets them know who's going to be in the room, as in who the experts are. It tells them where the venue is, because we don't advertise the venue, because we want them to know that it's a safe and secure venue, that only the right people know where it is.
Great. Yeah.
We let them know that that's all females only, so there's no concern if there are any trauma related to males. And encourage them to bring a long pen and paper. And that phone call can take anywhere from probably 10 minutes to 30 minutes that I take them through, just so they have an understanding, so that they can feel comfortable coming into the room on that Friday or Saturday morning, depending on which one they're coming to. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
so then pretty much we're there for the day. All those different experts answer their questions. We run it in a couple of different formats. But again, I take them through all of that in that phone call. So they have hopefully a fairly high level of understanding before they walk in the room. And we try to make it relaxed. We have food available and tea and coffee and all those kind of things. We have spare pens and paper for them to take notes. And our experts have grown beyond just money and finance. So
Oh, really?
we have lawyers, we have counsellors, we have insurance brokers, justice of the peace, business coaches, HR experts. So yes, through the 4 and a bit years of doing this, I meet individuals who go, "Oh, I've got this skill. I'd love to come along and volunteer." So that's how come I can the range of Financial Superwoman each workshop varies, because the peripheral ones just come along when they can. I have 7 kind of stock standard experts that we will always have, which is more related to the financial side of things. So a banking expert, a budgeting expert, a financial counselor, a renting expert for getting into a rental property, a mortgage broker for buying a home, an accountant to help with tax or business related questions. And then we also always have a representative of Broken to Brilliant, because there are a lot of programs that Broken to Brilliant have that can also help them in their journey too.
Yeah, wow.
Mm.
That's so cool.
Mm.
And do they select beforehand who they would want to meet with, or just they turn up on the day and
Yeah, so they
you
turn
run their
up on the
needs?
day.
Yeah.
The first probably half an hour of the day is taken with the experts taking a couple of minutes just to introduce themselves. So then,
Oh,
as
yeah.
much they've heard it from me in the phone call, then they
Mm.
get to see them face to face in an introduction to start with, and then we open it into kind of like a workshop style, as in, or as someone says, speed dating. So we set out tables, and they get 30 minutes at each table, and they move around to whichever expert they want to at whichever time. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. I
Mm.
love that. I
And
really,
sometimes
really love that.
you can
Mm.
imagine female voices, sometimes the level can get a little high, some of them get excited, but we try and spread the tables out so that there's enough space and everybody gets their questions answered. And that's what it's all about. It's they're not going
Mm.
to get kind of lectured to. It's more come
Mm.
with your questions and ask your questions. The experts are here for the day and get as
Yeah.
much out of them as you can. And then
Yeah.
the big
Yeah.
kicker is they actually get to take away all of our contact details. So if
Mm.
they walk away
Great.
and the next week or so they're thinking about things and went, oh, I didn't ask Tori that question. I should have asked her that question. They can look up the
Mm.
contact form and via email or phone reach out to the person that they wanted to, and we'll still continue to support them. Like we know
That's
there's a
so
lot of
great.
information that comes across on that day and
Mm.
too much to take in completely for them. So we
Mm.
want to continue to support them. Yeah.
Oh, it's so certainly like I know myself, you're in a situation where you're like learning something new. And when it's about your finances too, like it can really give you a 180 of your perspective of your
Mm.
situation and what's possible. So, yeah, like you're going to have these big questions that pop up afterwards once
Yep.
it all kind of like filters in
Mm. Mm.
and it's had time to settle for you. So, wow. Like I said to Taylor when I heard about this, I was like, I want to come. Can I come? Like, I'd love to speed date all these financial professionals. One, to kind of like learn a bit more about them, and I would have questions for them too, because I don't
Yeah.
want to. Maybe I'm being like efficient. I don't want to have to go like book appointments with all of them and travel halfway around the countryside. Like just having them all in one
Mm.
spot is really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Can I give you a quick rundown on how the online ones work? Because obviously that's a
Yes,
little bit
please
different.
do. That's
But
right.
now
Yeah.
you've got an understanding of the face to face ones. So the online ones, we started them last year and we were running them every fortnight.
Oh,
But every
amazing.
session we ran, we recorded. So we
Mm,
now have a library of 19 recordings from last year. And so if you can just imagine, each recording is one table. So we've got
mm,
one expert runs a session. Um, the participants who are on the online live get to ask questions after she's run through her presentation. But
mm-hmm,
anyone who watches the recording later can use the messaging system on the website that we use that hosts it to reach out and ask questions as well. So they still feel supported.
mm,
And now that we're rolling into 2025, we're cutting those back to just being once a month because we've already got such a good library
mm,
of recordings, and those, like I've got women registering all the time for online, so it's just a
mm.
case of you get access to this secret platform. It's literally, again, secure for financial superwoman only. No one else can get into our secret room where the library
Mm,
is, and that's where the recordings are, and that's where the live sessions happen
incredible.
online. Yeah.
And so, do you have to have attended one online session to access the library of previous sessions, or could,
Yeah, you just
yeah,
register once, and once you've registered
yeah.
once, you'll always get into that library and always get into the live sessions. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's such a safe place, like for
Mm.
women to be able to just go in and just watch.
Yep. And watch again and again if they need
Yeah,
to. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I love, love,
And
love that.
actually, that's probably something I should add in too. Just because you come
Mm,
to a face to face doesn't mean you can't come again. We had one
mm,
woman a couple of years ago. I think she came to every one that year. She came to about 5 or 6. And
mm.
every time she came, she just looked a little bit better. She was growing. It was amazing to see her grow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. And to have something like this workshop in your future, like pulling you forward, like for her,
Mm.
you can definitely tell, like she was like, right, by the next one, I'm going to
Mm. Yep.
have
Yep.
action these things that I learned and take progress in my life. And
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
wow. Do you have a story that you can share with us about, the impact that these workshops have had on
Yeah.
women?
I don't get into too much detail in that kind of
Understandable.
matters, but
Yeah.
I believe we have had about seven or eight women that our mortgage brokers have worked with, and they've actually all ended up buying their own homes. So
Oh,
these women walked into our
wow.
workshops going, there's no way I could ever be in my own home. And they're like, no, let's sit down. Let's look at your budget. Let's see what you can work with now. Do you know you've got this payment is possible to get? Or yes, you're on Centrelink, but some of these banks will still lend you even if you're on Centrelink payments. So having a mortgage broker who understands those areas has been phenomenal for these women. I've had another woman I know that she was working with the business coach, and she's turned her business around from working with the business coach. Another one who came in who got sucked into a whole lot of tax debt by her ex-partner, and the accountant worked with her to get that basically removed from her name. Our financial counsellors that we have are incredible, and I guess with the financial counsellors, they do financial counselling all the time, and so they've got great relationships with the different providers where debts have been run up, perhaps not in our participant's name, but in the perpetrator's name, and they can have some incredible stories of saving thousands and thousands of dollars because they can get the name removed because it should not be in their name. So I can't give you exact numbers, but we've had some great outcomes, most definitely.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's
Thanks.
amazing.
Yeah, and I was actually looking at the stats the other day. We've had over 400 women through our workshops since we started back in 2020. So whether that's online or face to face.
Wow. Wow.
And if you think about it, that's just 400 women, but how many children and sisters or mothers, other family members that's impacted as well. So it's pretty cool to think about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's well beyond 400, that's for sure. Like, it's so amazing. So, Karen, what do you do, like, for yourself to have yourself be available to make Financial Superwoman what it is today and meet the needs of your clients and things like that? Like, what do you do, or what programs are you in, or what, like, what's your thing or things? And it changes, right? Like, I've done so much, like, from Landmark to other people, and right now I'm right into like the feminine embodiment, energetics work. Like, tell us a bit about that.
I run, like I enjoy running, and I do that. We have a dog, or it seems to be my dog because I'm the one who takes them for a run, even though not the kids. I do like to run, and that just, I guess, gives me that chance to clear everything in my head.
Is that like a few times a week, or?
Yeah, I do, not a tremendous amount, probably 2 to 3 times a week. My alarm did go off this morning, and I went, no, I'm too tired, and I ignored it. So I was intending on running this morning. But yeah. And on the flip side of that, here at the office, there's normally 2 or 3 of us who like to go for a walk after work. So we kind of try to be good and stop at 5 o'clock, get changed into our active gear, and we might do 4 or 5Ks sort of around the office area as well. And that's good just to de-stress from what's gone on in the day in the office before we all head home. So I guess exercise is a bit of my thing. I do like listening to podcasts, although my drive from my home to my office is 4 minutes, so I don't get to listen to a lot. So it's only when I go somewhere further, and if I don't have anybody in the car, then I will put something on. And so it's often you guys. There is a couple of other financial podcasts that I listen to as well. And then sometimes I just find a good Spotify playlist that's got the 80s or the 90s, and I get that going too, just to, I don't know, a little bit different, and relive my teenage years probably.
Oh, there's nothing like getting energy from your youth, is there?
No. And I'd love to say I love reading books, but I'm terrible at reading books because by the time I get into bed, I fall asleep. So podcasts is the way, or audiobooks is the way that I kind of do that side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. A long time ago, I started reading a couple of pages before bed to interrupt like a habit that I used to have. And I kind of use it to have me go to sleep, and it was perfect, but it doesn't really mean you get through the book very quickly.
No. Oh yeah, I can sit on a book for a whole year. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Mm.
I would be reading the same page 3 or 4 times, you know,
Yep.
because the different various falling asleep stages of Brit had read it. So, oh, I totally get that. I really do. Now, what has been your biggest challenge, like within yourself, in doing this work that you do? Like, what have you? Could be recent, long time ago, or big
Mm.
triumph. Or, yeah.
Yeah, I think probably what comes to mind is the guilt factor that plays in your mind, as I'm sure every female listening to this can relate to,
Mm,
because I run a business, I have a business partner, and we have 14 in our team. I have a family, and I have my commitment to Broken to Brilliant and running Financial Superwoman. So there is a lot going on, and I try to juggle everything. But probably I feel guilty more so about my family, because I kind of joke and say, my kids are now teenagers, they pretty much look after themselves, and my husband's pretty good too. But it is nice sometimes just to say, tonight, no computer, just come home, have dinner, let's try and have a conversation, or let's take the dog for a walk, as at least a couple. If not, there's one or two kids hanging around. So, yeah,
mm,
I think that's the
mm.
biggest thing, is trying to balance everything. So I feel, and it's all in my head, I feel I'm giving equally to all of those areas in my life.
And
Mm.
was there a moment where you sort of, I want to say cracked, but you're like, oh, this guilt thing is really like, it's quite overbearing, and I've got to find, like, there's some different way I can be about it. And what was that?
I think I actually almost cracked at the beginning of this year,
Yeah.
because I lacked motivation. I felt tired.
Mm,
Our January was a bit sporadic in the holidays, which was really nice. So I kind of felt like I took a while to get back on the horse, where
mm,
all of last year it was go, 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 bang, 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 bang. And we stopped in January, had a couple of weeks holiday, and got to relax and chill out. And I think that's when I went, oh shit, this is so nice. Sorry, I shouldn't swear. This is so
that's okay. You
nice to
can.
have time with my family, and probably realized then
Mm,
that I hadn't given or hadn't dedicated enough time to my family in the previous year, and so I'm a bit more conscious of that this year. Yeah.
mm, See, I love those moments of stopping and
Mm.
pausing, because I used to think that they were not worth it. Like, there was always something else to do and be and achieve. But in the rest, in the pause, in the letting go of doing all of those things, you get so much value out of that,
Mm. Yeah.
like for yourself,
Yes,
and then the people around you.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, that's really cool. That is really cool. Good lesson to pause. um, what else would you like to share with us today? Like more about Broken to Brilliant. Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I would actually, if you're okay with that, because
Yeah.
as I said before, Broken to Brilliant we've got 6 directors. We're all volunteers, and most of us have full time or part time jobs as well. So our biggest thing to help that charity actually continue to grow, and the reason for starting Broken to Brilliant from Kate and Andrea, is they were survivors themselves. Um, and they got through the crisis stage, because there's lots of support at the crisis stage. But then everyone's like, oh, well, you've left. You've got out of the situation. You're all good now. Pat you on the back. Off you go. Happy days.
Mm,
But that is definitely not the case. So we work in the post crisis stage. So we have lots of different programs and support that we offer in the post crisis stage. But for us to continue working the programs and keeping up with all the compliance that goes with having a charity, our mission is, well, we've got 2 missions, I guess. One mission is we have written 4 books, and we're about to start our 5th book.
I
And
saw
each
those
book,
actually.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So each book has 10 chapters in it. Each chapter is written by a survivor. The survivor's chapter, which it takes a year for them to put this whole book together because there's a lot of coaching around writing their story. So it's a little
Mm.
bit of their story, but it's more about what they did to move forward.
Yes. Yeah.
And the idea is our mission is to have one book on every bed in every refuge across Australia because it's like a self-help book.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And we have had women come to us and say, "Oh, I saw your book. I read it. It helped me. I did XYZ." So that is
Mm-mm.
amazing to know that that's what's happening and that's what we want to do. So
Mm.
that's our first mission is we're about to write the fifth book, and we were lucky enough to secure a grant from Commonwealth Bank for
Mm-hmm.
the money to cover putting the book together.
Mm-hmm.
From that, and then our second mission is housing, and it's actually not creating housing from a rental point of view, but actually having land where we can build houses that the women can actually buy and own. So they've got something that is theirs. So there are
Wow.
different
That's
schemes out
cool.
there in the housing situation that help
Mm.
women, but they're all around renting and sharing as opposed to actually having that ownership. And that's a big mission that we are on as well.
Oh wow.
So we were operating two op shops. We just had to close one down at the end of this year, 2024. So we have one op shop that operates in the city in Brisbane, in Adelaide
Mm-hmm.
Street.
Okay.
And so we obviously get funds from the op shop, but it costs us
Mm-hmm.
money to run the op shop.
Sure does. Yeah.
It's all run by volunteers, so that's amazing. And that's unfortunately one of the reasons we had to close G-Bung because we just didn't have enough volunteers to keep it running to
Yeah.
generate enough revenue from it to cover the cost of the rent, etc. So
Mm.
it
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately was a no-brainer. We weren't making enough money, so we had to close it because it was draining from the charity as opposed to contributing to the charity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
so that's kind of what we do. And my big wish is to have an amazing corporation who would like to sponsor us. You know, 20
Yes. Yep.
grand, 30 grand, 50 grand a year. And if we
Mm-hmm.
could have someone who would just drop that money into our bank account, we would be able to do so much more with the charity because we could actually pay somebody to do a whole lot of the stuff that we all do in our evenings after our daytime jobs.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm,
And it's not necessarily like super complex or expertise kind of
no,
work. It's
it's
you're.
kind of admin and social
Yeah.
media and
Mm-hmm.
compliance stuff.
Yep.
But
Yep.
and that's the other thing is if you're
Mm.
applying for grants, when you apply for grants, you're applying to be able to provide some kind of service or some kind of workshop. So we can't
Mm-hmm.
apply for a grant to say, can we just employ an admin person? Because
Yes. Yep.
grants are not looking to give you money for that. So
Mm.
that's kind of
Okay.
that's my
Okay.
hot button this year is to see if I
Awesome.
can tap on somebody's shoulder who has some money who would like to help us out. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I have alarm bells, like good ones, jingles going off in my head
Nice.
about so many connections to do with housing. I'm a member of the Zonta Club of Brisbane,
Mhm.
and look, so many. We're going to keep talking. This is great. um, yeah, like this is such great work. And yeah, if you're listening right now and you want to contribute in, being a volunteer, um, on for the workshops in person, online, or you're a business that wants to contribute, or you're someone that even wants to volunteer your administration skills,
Yeah.
um, and or donate and make those books available on beds of
Mhm.
refuges. Like,
Mhm.
how many beds are there? Like, what are we talking? How many books do we need
Oh, hundreds of thousands, definitely. Yep.
in Australia
In
wide? Is that
Australia.
what? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a program called Give a Book program, which
Mm-hmm.
essentially is covering four books for $100. We normally it's $120 because they're $30 each.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you essentially donate $100 to our Give a Book program, that gives us the ability to put 4 books into a refuge. So we have a list of refuges who say, we'd love some more books. So then we go out and we try and find some funding, and then we can then give some books to the refuges. But we have on our website the ability for people to donate to our Give a Book program, and therefore we can build up the supply and we can give books to the different refuges who have asked. Plus then we have refuges that we don't even know exist, because in Queensland they're not advertised.
No,
and a lot of the states are not advertised. There is one state that they do advertise where the refuges are. I think that might be WA. But otherwise, so any connections to refuges that we could help, we're open for that too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you make giving possible in so many ways, because if you're listening, you're like, well, okay, I'm time poor, but I've got money, or, I've got like time, I don't have much money, like, and anywhere in between, people can contribute.
Yes.
Which is super, super exciting. I love that. Oh man, this is amazing. So good. Now, website for Broken to Brilliant is
broken-to-brilliant.org. So just brokentobrilliant.org, and then financialsuperwoman.net.au.
Okay, brilliant. We'll have all of that in the show notes, and you did send us some amazing links, and you've got upcoming events as well for Financial Superwomen.
Yes, we do. Yes, we've got a workshop in Melbourne in Sunbury on next Friday, the 7th of March, and then the following day, the 8th of March, we've got our workshop in Springfield Lakes up in Brisbane.
Amazing.
And then we've got our next online one, which is the 24th of March, and we've got an injury lawyer talking to us. So she's going to share about when you'd actually consider needing an injury lawyer, because I think a lot of us think, oh, that's an American thing, you just sue people, if you're injured. But no, there is definitely an opportunity to know about it here in Australia too.
You see the billboards around, and it's becoming more and more a thing, right? Unfortunately, but fortunately for some people. So there we go. And what are you said one of your goals is this year, by the sounds of it, finding like a good, a sizable corporate sponsor. What other goals? What are you looking forward to? Are you traveling? What's coming up for Karen this year?
What's coming up for Karen? Well, I turned 50 a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, congratulations.
So now I don't know, I've got a new lease on life, because I don't know, in the nifty 50s, if that's what you want to call it these days, or it's the new 30s or whatever it is. I only have one sister, and she lives in China. And so our mission is to probably 2026 get over to China and spend some time with her over there. She's been there for 10 years, and I've never got around to go and visiting her. But it would be nice to go and visit her before her 10 years wraps up and she's not there anymore, because there are some beautiful spots in China to go and visit.
So many.
Yeah. I don't know what else is around. We recently brought a 4-wheel drive, so we're doing a bit of 4-wheel driving, got the tent on the top, and kind of, the kids the kids don't want to hang out with us, so we just like, well, it's a tent just for 2 of us, and off we go, leave them to it. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So good. Bit of adventure, hey?
That's right.
And, like, when I turned 30, I was like, all right, I don't feel any older, so I'll just keep feeling young. It sounds like you just said, like, you've got this new vitality about you since turning 50. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You don't
it's
look
like
anywhere
just
close
a number.
to 50, by the way. But yeah, it's just
Thanks.
a number.
That's right. Yep. I think I was worried about it, but now I'm like, oh, I'm here. It's all good. Carry on.
Yeah. Like, I'm not decaying. I'm not breaking down. Like, okay, everything's still the same. Great. Okay, Karen, what are your 3 like gifts that you want to give our listeners about, like, if the work you do or what you've learned in life, or just some valuable like lessons? What would you like to give today?
I would probably say, don't be afraid to put your hand up and ask. Like, don't something I've learned, don't be a martyr. You don't have to do everything for everybody. Like, and maybe a little bit of be aware of self-preservation along those lines too. Yeah. Yep.
When you say
That's
be
one.
aware of self-preservation, as in, can you say more about that?
As in, put your own mask on first
Yes,
kind of
yes,
situation.
yep, yep,
Yes.
yep, yep, got
You're
it.
no good to anybody else if you're no good yourself.
Yes,
Um,
got it.
yeah,
Yes,
I've
I love
had a
that.
few people in my life recently have some mental health experiences within mental health illnesses, and so I think that's become a little bit more prevalent or a bit more aware that, yeah, put your own mask on first is what I'd say, which comes
Yep.
back to put your hand up and ask for help.
Yes.
Notice that.
Yep. Yep. Great.
Something else I would probably say is, I don't know if you realize, but I'm actually not Australian. Australia
Yes.
is an amazing place to live. There are so many great opportunities, beautiful places to escape to relax and recharge. So yeah, just stop and smell the roses, I guess, and see what's around in your backyard is probably something that I would make a suggestion for people listening as something to think about too. Yeah.
Yeah, the natural beauty that surrounds us
Mm.
and getting connected to that.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's so good.
And I guess my last thing would be, if you've heard anything, if anything that we've said today has spoken to you and you would love to volunteer your time, volunteer some money, support us in some way, please reach out. I'd love to have a chat. And that's all it needs to be, is just a chat and to see what doors can open and how we can continue, how we could possibly work together. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Karen, so much. I feel really grateful and joyful that, I could be a part of sharing you with the world and the work that you do. So, thank you, everybody, for listening. If something has resonated or you're not sure, but you think somebody else might be able to connect with Karen, like share the episode on, it'll be like the best 40 minutes of your life, and the best gift that you could be giving thousands of people by doing that. So have a wonderful
Amazing.
day, week, and journey, and you'll be hearing from us soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Brett. It was awesome.
You're welcome.